Happiness is often thought of as something far away, something to be earned, achieved, or discovered in the future. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, when I find the right person, when life finally feels perfect. The problem is that life will never be perfect, and waiting for external conditions to align before allowing yourself to feel joy is a trap. True happiness is not something you stumble upon, it is something you start creating today. It begins with a choice, a conscious decision to allow yourself to feel good, to embrace the present moment, and to cultivate a mindset that welcomes joy regardless of circumstances. The first step toward happiness is recognizing that it begins within. Happiness is not a product of success, wealth, or external approval. While achievements and material comforts can enhance life, they are not the source of genuine, lasting joy. Your inner state, your perspective, and the way you interpret experiences determine whether you feel fulfilled. The moment you stop looking outward for validation and start tending to your inner world, you take the first step toward true happiness. This is a shift from being a passenger in your life to becoming the driver, deciding moment by moment to nurture your own sense of well-being. Gratitude is the next essential step. Happiness thrives when you notice and appreciate the small, often overlooked moments of life. The warmth of sunlight, the laughter of a friend, the taste of your favorite meal. These ordinary experiences carry the potential for extraordinary joy when acknowledged. By focusing on what you already have, rather than fixating on what you lack, you create a mindset that is attuned to abundance instead of scarcity. Gratitude is like a lens that transforms everyday life, making simple moments feel meaningful and cultivating a deep sense of contentment that is independent of external circumstances. Another vital aspect of happiness is the understanding that you don't have to wait for life to be perfect. Many people postpone joy, telling themselves they will allow happiness only after achieving a specific goal or crossing a particular milestone. Waiting for perfect conditions is a form of procrastination that robs you of the present. Happiness does not come after life is free of challenges. It comes in spite of challenges. It is a choice to experience joy now, regardless of setbacks, uncertainty, or imperfection. By embracing this mindset, you reclaim power over your emotional state and break free from the endless cycle of postponement that keeps so many people from truly living. Choosing happiness also requires taking responsibility for your emotional state. Life will always bring difficulties, disappointments, and unexpected obstacles, but how you respond to them determines your experience. You can allow external circumstances to dictate your mood, or you can decide to cultivate positivity, resilience, calmness despite challenges. This is empowerment in action, recognizing that you may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you interpret and respond to it. Each time you consciously choose joy over frustration, gratitude over resentment, and hope over fear, you reinforce the habit of happiness, creating a foundation for long-term fulfillment. Happiness is also fueled by action. It is not a passive state that comes to you while you wait. It is something you actively cultivate through your daily choices, habits, and mindset. Engaging in activities that bring you joy, nurturing relationships, pursuing meaningful goals, and contributing to others' lives all feed your sense of well-being. Movement, both physical and mental, generates energy that lifts your spirit. Even small, consistent actions create momentum, reinforcing positivity and building confidence. Happiness is the result of both inner awareness and intentional action. It grows when you participate actively in your own life rather than waiting for life to deliver it. Another crucial element is the awareness that happiness is a practice, not a destination. Life will always have its ups and downs, and circumstances will fluctuate. But happiness is cultivated through daily attention and intention. It requires choosing perspective over circumstance, gratitude over complaint, and presence over distraction. Mindfulness, being fully engaged in the current moment, allows you to notice joy that exists in the ordinary. Consistently practicing this mindset trains your brain to seek positivity, transforming how you experience every day. Over time, this practice creates a stable inner happiness that is resilient to the chaos and unpredictability of life. Finally, happiness grows when you invest in your relationships and connections. Sharing joy, kindness, and appreciation with others amplifies your own sense of fulfillment. Relationships provide support, connection, and shared experiences that enrich life in ways that cannot be measured by achievement alone. When you express gratitude, encouragement, and love, you not only strengthen your bonds, but also deepen your own experience of joy. Happiness is amplified through connection, and the energy you put into positive interactions returns to you, creating a cycle of mutual upliftment. In essence, wanting to be happy starts here, in this moment. It begins with the decision to stop waiting, to cultivate gratitude, to take responsibility for your emotions, to engage actively in life, to practice mindfulness, and to nurture meaningful connections. Happiness is available to you now, not in some distant future. It is not granted by circumstances, milestones, or achievements. It is created by the choices you make, the perspective you adopt, and the energy you cultivate in every moment. By starting here and choosing joy today, you begin a journey of lasting fulfillment, resilience, and meaningful engagement with life. Happiness is often misunderstood as something that exists outside of ourselves, a reward that comes only after we achieve a goal, acquire possession, or receive recognition from others. Many people live their lives in a perpetual state of waiting, believing that joy will arrive. Only when circumstances align perfectly. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll feel fulfilled once I buy that house. Or I'll find contentment when someone appreciates me. These thoughts are common, yet they trap people in a cycle of dependence on external conditions for emotional well-being. The truth is that happiness begins within. It is not a byproduct of what you have, who you know, or the accolades you receive. It originates from your inner perspective, your mindset, and the way you choose to experience life in the present moment. Understanding this principle is the first step toward living a life of lasting fulfillment. Happiness begins within because the mind is the lens through which we experience the world. Every experience, no matter how objectively positive or negative, is filtered through perception. Two people can face the same challenge, yet one may feel despair while the other finds opportunity. This difference is not determined by external circumstances, but by the inner perspective each person holds. Happiness is therefore a reflection of how you interpret events, the narratives you create about your experiences, and the attitudes you bring to each situation. When you cultivate a mindset that looks for meaning, growth, and positivity, you can experience joy regardless of what is happening around you. Choosing happiness internally means shifting focus from what is lacking to what is present. Too often, people concentrate on scarcity, what they don't have, what hasn't happened yet, or what they wish were different. This focus breeds dissatisfaction and a sense of incompleteness. By directing attention inward and appreciating the aspects of life that are already available, you begin to create a foundation for happiness that is independent of circumstance. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. Instead, it involves recognizing that even amidst difficulties, there are elements of life worthy of appreciation, moments of growth, learning, and connection that can fuel a sense of well-being. Your inner mindset is also shaped by self-awareness. Happiness begins within when you take responsibility for your emotional state. Many people allow external events to dictate their moods, giving power over their well-being to situations, other people, or chance. This dependence creates a reactive life where joy is fleeting and constantly subject to the ups and downs of circumstance. By becoming aware of your thoughts, feelings, and responses, you can intervene in these automatic patterns and intentionally cultivate a mindset that supports happiness. Self-awareness allows you to notice when negative thinking or external pressures are influencing your mood and to redirect attention toward perspectives and actions that promote well-being. Another critical aspect of internal happiness is the cultivation of positive habits and practices. When you consistently engage in behaviors that nurture your mind and spirit, such as mindfulness, reflection, gratitude, and acts of kindness, you reinforce an inner state of joy. These practices do not depend on external validation or achievement. They are accessible at any moment and directly influence your experience of life. Over time, these habits train your brain to notice the positive, respond with calmness and resilience, and find contentment in the present. Internal happiness grows stronger with practice, just as physical fitness improves through consistent exercise. The understanding that happiness begins within also empowers you to navigate life's challenges more effectively. When joy is internal rather than external, you develop resilience against setbacks, disappointments, and uncertainty. Life will inevitably bring difficulties, but an inner source of happiness provides stability and perspective. Instead of being overwhelmed by adversity, you can respond with clarity, creativity, and perseverance. Internal happiness equips you with the emotional resources to face challenges without being controlled by fear, frustration, or despair. It allows you to maintain energy, motivation, and focus, even when circumstances are less than ideal. Furthermore, internal happiness strengthens your relationships and connections. When your joy is self-generated, you do not rely on others to validate your worth or provide your sense of well-being. This independence allows you to engage more authentically with others, sharing positivity without expectation, offering support without attachment, and contributing to relationships from a place of abundance rather than need. Happiness that begins within creates a ripple effect. Your inner contentment enhances interactions, fosters trust, and inspires those around you. Others are drawn to people whose joy comes from within because it is stable, genuine, and contagious. Happiness is also amplified by perspective. Viewing life as a series of opportunities for growth and learning rather than as a collection of obstacles fosters inner satisfaction. By focusing on what you can control, your attitude, choices, and actions, you reduce the influence of external circumstances on your emotional state. Internal happiness is grounded in acceptance, self-compassion, and a recognition of the impermanent nature of challenges. It is the understanding that life will never be perfect, and waiting for perfection only delays joy. Choosing to cultivate happiness internally allows you to experience life fully in every moment, independent of what is happening around you. Ultimately, recognizing that happiness begins within is the key to lasting fulfillment. It shifts the source of joy from external validation and fleeting circumstances to a stable, self-generated state. By cultivating awareness, focusing on gratitude, developing supportive habits, embracing perspective, and taking responsibility for your emotional state, you build an inner foundation of contentment. Life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more resilient when happiness is rooted in the mind rather than in external conditions. The decision to start here, to nurture joy from within, is a transformative act that empowers you to live fully, regardless of the challenges or imperfections of life. Happiness does not wait for the world to approve it. It starts within you in this very moment through the choices you make and the mindset you cultivate. The second point in creating a life of happiness is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is more than simply saying thank you or acknowledging a positive event. It is a deliberate and consistent way of perceiving life that shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. Many people live in a state of constant dissatisfaction because they concentrate on what they lack, what hasn't gone their way, or what they hope to achieve in the future. This mindset creates a sense of scarcity and frustration, preventing them from experiencing contentment in the present. Gratitude, on the other hand, trains the mind to recognize and appreciate the small, often overlooked moments that make life meaningful. It transforms ordinary experiences into sources of joy, and over time, it rewires the brain to naturally seek positivity, creating a profound and lasting impact on overall well-being. At its core, gratitude is a mindset, a way of interpreting life that emphasizes abundance rather than limitation. The human brain is wired to notice problems, threats, and unmet needs as a survival mechanism. While this focus on negatives once helped humans navigate dangerous environments, in modern life it often leads to excessive worry, comparison, and dissatisfaction. By practicing gratitude, you actively shift attention from what is wrong or missing to what is good and present. This simple shift has a profound effect on emotional health. When you notice the beauty of a morning sunrise, the warmth of a cup of tea, the laughter of a loved one, or the feeling of your own breath, you are engaging in a conscious act of appreciation. These seemingly small observations, when acknowledged, create a ripple effect that increases overall contentment and strengthens your sense of connection to life. Gratitude also nurtures mindfulness, the ability to be fully present in the current moment. In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it is easy to overlook simple pleasures and take everyday experiences for granted. By practicing gratitude, you train yourself to slow down and pay attention to the details that make life meaningful, a quiet walk in nature, a kind word from a colleague, the comfort of a home-cooked meal. These ordinary moments often go unnoticed, but when you intentionally focus on them, they become sources of joy. Mindfulness through gratitude cultivates awareness, helping you recognize that happiness does not have to come from monumental achievements. It can be found in the richness of everyday life. Another important effect of gratitude is its ability to enhance emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges, setbacks, and disappointments are inevitable. Without gratitude, it is easy to become overwhelmed by negativity, focusing on losses, failures, or obstacles. Gratitude shifts focus toward what remains positive, what has been learned, and what is still valuable. By noticing the good, even in difficult circumstances, you build emotional strength and balance. This does not mean ignoring pain or pretending life is perfect. It means choosing to acknowledge that there is still much to appreciate. In this way, gratitude provides a stable foundation of well-being that allows you to navigate adversity with calmness and clarity. Gratitude also improves relationships and social connections, which are vital to happiness. When you recognize and express appreciation for the efforts, kindness, and presence of others, you strengthen bonds and deepen trust. Expressing gratitude, whether through words, gestures, or actions, creates a positive feedback loop in relationships. People respond to appreciation with warmth and generosity, reinforcing connection and mutual respect. Furthermore, gratitude reduces resentment, jealousy, and comparison, allowing relationships to flourish in an atmosphere of positivity and support. By valuing others and expressing recognition, you not only enhance their lives, but also cultivate your own sense of joy. The practice of gratitude encourages a long-term perspective on life. It teaches patience and contentment by focusing on what is available rather than constantly chasing what is not. This perspective fosters satisfaction and reduces the perpetual sense of never enough that often undermines happiness. Gratitude also cultivates hope, as it encourages recognition of progress and blessings even during difficult times. When you acknowledge the positives alongside the challenges, you develop a balanced view that promotes emotional stability and a sense of possibility. This balance is critical for sustainable happiness because it allows you to experience life fully without being consumed by negativity or dissatisfaction. Moreover, gratitude has a compounding effect. The more you practice it, the more your mind naturally seeks reasons to be thankful. Daily habits such as journaling about 3 things you are grateful for, reflecting on positive moments before sleep, or pausing to appreciate the present during the day strengthen this mindset. Over time, this consistent focus on the positive reshapes your experience of life. Ordinary moments such as the sound of rain, a smile from a stranger, or completing a task become sources of contentment. Gratitude transforms life itself into a collection of meaningful experiences rather than a constant pursuit of more. Finally, gratitude transforms ordinary experiences into sources of joy because it changes the way you perceive them. A simple meal becomes nourishing and comforting. A routine commute becomes a moment of reflection, and interactions with others become opportunities for connection and appreciation. Gratitude expands perception, creating awareness of the richness that already exists in your life. It reinforces the understanding that happiness is not a distant destination, but a state that can be accessed in every moment by shifting focus and cultivating appreciation. In essence, gratitude is a powerful tool for creating happiness because it trains the mind to notice and value what is already present. It transforms ordinary experiences into sources of joy, strengthens emotional resilience, nurtures mindfulness, enhances relationships, fosters patience and hope, and creates a compounding effect that magnifies positivity over time. By intentionally practicing gratitude, you no longer wait for life to provide reasons to feel good. You begin to see that reasons already exist all around you. Happiness is available now in the simple, everyday moments when you take the time to recognize, appreciate, and embrace them fully. The third point in understanding the foundation of happiness is the realization that you don't need to wait for perfect conditions to feel good. Many people spend their lives postponing joy, telling themselves that happiness will come only after a promotion, after a financial goal is achieved, after finding the right partner, or after some undefined perfect moment arrives. This mindset creates a constant state of waiting, where the present is undervalued and the mind becomes fixated on a future that is uncertain and often unattainable. Waiting for perfection is an illusion because life is inherently imperfect. Circumstances will rarely, if ever, align exactly as you hope. The key to happiness is recognizing that joy is not granted by flawless conditions. It is a choice, a practice, and a mindset that can be embraced in the here and now, even amidst challenges and imperfection. Life is full of uncertainty, setbacks, and obstacles. And if you tie your happiness to external conditions, it will always be fragile and fleeting, waiting for life to be perfect before allowing. Yourself to feel joy is like waiting for the wind to blow in a direction that suits your sails. It may never happen. And even if it does, you have surrendered control over your journey. True happiness is cultivated internally, independent of circumstance. It arises from the conscious decision to focus on what is present, what is meaningful, and what is positive, rather than fixating on what is missing or imperfect. Choosing happiness in the present moment means that you no longer give your power away to circumstances, events, or other people. Instead, you recognize that your emotional state is largely determined by your perspective and your willingness to embrace life as it is. Choosing happiness amidst imperfection does not mean ignoring reality or denying challenges. Life is not perfect, and pretending otherwise only leads to frustration. Happiness is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to feel content, peaceful, and fulfilled even while navigating challenges. It is a state of mind that allows you to experience joy and satisfaction without waiting for the world to meet every expectation. This approach creates emotional resilience because you are no longer dependent on flawless conditions to maintain your well-being. You develop the capacity to adapt, appreciate, and thrive, even when life presents obstacles, setbacks, or disappointments. The habit of waiting for perfect conditions often leads to procrastination. People delay pursuing dreams, expressing gratitude, or engaging in meaningful action because they feel the timing is not right or circumstances are not ideal. This delay can become a self-imposed prison, where life passes by while you wait for a mythical moment of perfection. By choosing happiness now, you break free from this cycle. You begin to appreciate life as it is, take action despite uncertainty, and find fulfillment in the process rather than postponing it indefinitely. This mindset encourages proactive engagement with life rather than passively waiting for external validation or ideal circumstances. Happiness in the present moment also strengthens perspective. By choosing to feel good despite imperfection, you train your mind to recognize value, beauty, and positivity even in difficult situations. A challenging day at work can become an opportunity to learn and grow. A difficult conversation can be approached with patience and understanding. Minor setbacks can be seen as temporary and manageable rather than catastrophic. This mindset fosters a sense of control and agency because you learn that your happiness is determined less by what happens to you and more by how you perceive and respond to it. It creates a stable internal foundation that is not shaken by the unpredictability of life. This approach also allows you to find joy in the ordinary moments of life. Waiting for perfect conditions often blinds people to the simple pleasures that are present every day, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter of a loved one, the comfort of a meal, or the beauty of nature. By choosing happiness now, you become more aware of these small yet meaningful experiences. You begin to understand that joy does not always come from extraordinary events or achievements. It comes from appreciating life as it unfolds, recognizing blessings, and embracing the present moment fully. Happiness becomes a practice rather than a reward, something cultivated through attention, intention, and perspective. Choosing happiness amidst imperfection also enhances resilience and emotional intelligence. Life will inevitably present challenges that are outside of your control, from health issues to unexpected losses or shifts in circumstances. When you wait for perfect conditions, these events can feel catastrophic because your well-being is tethered to an idealized version of life that rarely exists. By learning to choose happiness despite imperfection, you develop the ability to respond with calm, creativity, and adaptability. Challenges become manageable rather than overwhelming, and setbacks are reframed as opportunities for growth and learning. This emotional flexibility allows you to maintain peace and clarity even in difficult times. Ultimately, understanding that you don't need perfect conditions to be happy is transformative. Happiness is a choice, a mindset, and a practice that can be embraced in the present moment. Waiting for life to align perfectly only delays fulfillment and diminishes your ability to experience joy. By choosing happiness amidst imperfection, you reclaim control over your emotional state, strengthen resilience, appreciate ordinary moments, and cultivate a mindset that thrives regardless of circumstance. Life will never be flawless, but joy can be accessed now, in this moment, through the conscious decision to focus on what is present, meaningful, and positive. Happiness is not something to wait for. It is something to live, to practice, and to embody, even amidst challenges and imperfections. And this realization transforms every aspect of life, empowering you to experience fulfillment here and now. The fourth point in creating a life of happiness is taking responsibility for your emotional state. Many people live as if their feelings are dictated by circumstances, other people, or events outside their control. When something goes wrong, they feel frustrated or sad, and when something goes right, they feel temporarily joyful. This approach to emotions creates a reactive life, where your sense of well-being is constantly at the mercy of external conditions. True happiness, however, is not a passive state that appears by chance. It is an active choice and a personal responsibility. By taking ownership of your emotional state, you gain the power to interpret experiences intentionally, respond consciously, and cultivate joy regardless of external circumstances. Taking responsibility for your emotions begins with the recognition that your feelings are largely determined by your perceptions, thoughts, and interpretations rather than events themselves. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and unpredictable circumstances, and two people can experience the same situation very differently. One may feel defeated, angry, or anxious, while another may feel curious, motivated, or at peace. The difference is not in the external event, but in the internal response. By understanding that emotions arise from the way we interpret events, we reclaim control over our experience. You are not powerless in the face of life's difficulties. You have the ability to choose how to perceive and respond to them. When you take responsibility for your emotional state, you move from a reactive mindset to a proactive one. Instead of allowing frustration, fear, or disappointment to dictate your behavior, you pause, reflect, and decide how to respond in a way that supports your well-being. This does not mean denying or suppressing emotions. It means acknowledging them, understanding their source, and choosing constructive ways to act. For example, when faced with criticism, one person may react with defensiveness or anger, while another sees it as an opportunity to learn and grow. By actively shaping your response, you prevent negative emotions from controlling your life and instead use every experience as a chance to strengthen emotional resilience and personal growth. Taking responsibility also means recognizing that your happiness is not dependent on other people or external events. Many people unconsciously hand over their power to circumstances, waiting for approval, recognition, or success before allowing themselves to feel joy. This creates a fragile and temporary form of happiness that is constantly subject to external fluctuations. By owning your emotional state, you shift the source of joy inward. You learn that contentment and peace do not need to be granted by others. They can be cultivated from within through conscious choices, mindful awareness, and a positive mindset. This internal locus of control empowers you to maintain stability and fulfillment even when life is uncertain or challenging. Another aspect of taking responsibility for your emotions is cultivating self-awareness. Understanding your thoughts, triggers, and habitual reactions allows you to intervene before negative emotions spiral out of control. When you recognize patterns of thinking that lead to frustration, resentment, or anxiety, you can actively redirect your focus toward gratitude, perspective, or problem solving. Self-awareness also allows you to celebrate small victories, appreciate positive moments, and maintain a sense of progress even when challenges persist. By being mindful of your internal state, you become an active participant in shaping your emotional landscape rather than a passive observer. Taking responsibility for your emotions strengthens resilience. Life will inevitably present difficulties, disappointments, and unexpected changes. If you allow circumstances to dictate how you feel, you risk becoming overwhelmed by frustration, fear, or despair. By choosing to take ownership of your emotional state, you develop the capacity to remain centered and balanced, even in adversity. This resilience does not mean you are unaffected by challenges. It means that you respond with clarity, focus, and a sense of agency rather than being swept away by negativity. Each time you practice this choice, your emotional strength grows, making it easier to navigate future obstacles with calm and confidence. Empowerment comes directly from taking responsibility for your emotions. When you acknowledge that you have control over your inner state, you realize that you are not at the mercy of life's unpredictability. You can cultivate joy, contentment, and peace regardless of circumstance. This sense of empowerment transforms your daily experience because you no longer wait for life to approve your happiness. Instead, you generate it from within through conscious choices, intentional focus, and mindful interpretation of events. Happiness becomes something you create, not something you hope will appear. Taking responsibility for your emotional state also enhances relationships and social interactions. When you are aware of your feelings and choose how to respond intentionally, you communicate more effectively, manage conflicts gracefully, and contribute positively to the emotional environment around you. You no longer project negativity onto others or react impulsively out of frustration or fear. Instead, you cultivate empathy, patience, and constructive engagement, which strengthens connections and fosters mutual understanding. The ability to regulate your emotions and take responsibility for them enriches both your personal and professional life, creating harmony and collaboration instead of tension and misunderstanding. Finally, taking responsibility for your emotions transforms the way you experience life. Every event, challenge, and interaction becomes an opportunity to practice choice, cultivate positivity, and build resilience. By understanding that happiness is not a byproduct of circumstance, but a state you can intentionally cultivate, you shift from a life of waiting and reactivity to a life of agency, purpose, and fulfillment. You gain the ability to navigate uncertainty with calm, to approach challenges with creativity, and to experience joy in both ordinary and extraordinary moments. In essence, taking responsibility for your emotional state is a cornerstone of lasting happiness. It empowers you to interpret experiences consciously, respond intentionally, and cultivate joy independently of external conditions. By owning your emotions, practicing self-awareness, strengthening resilience, and embracing an internal locus of control, you create a foundation for a life where happiness is not contingent on circumstance, but emerges naturally from the choices you make every day. The power to feel good, to remain centered, and to experience joy lies within you, and taking responsibility for it transforms every aspect of your life.